It's Matt Santagapita, Santa Knows Best, and welcome to our first episode of the Real Estate Roundtable. And we don't have a round table, it's an awkwardly rectangular small table. And anyways, so guys, let's start down at the end. Introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of start rolling and chatting about real estate.
Well, thanks for having us here, Matt. I'm Devin Nadeau from LePage Triland. Excited to kind of have some open conversation and kind of forum here to talk about what's happening in the London market.
Kris here with Century 21. I like long walks on the beach. How about you?
I do. Anita Pimentel from the realty firm, and I've been selling real estate for just over 5 years.
Awesome. So thanks for coming, guys, and let's just jump right in. Real estate's been nuts for 12, 18 months. So let's start. 2017 was a super interesting year for real estate in London. What did you guys see in the market?
I definitely noticed a large influx of people from outside of London. Obviously, we started off the year with lower inventory than we'd ever seen, but started to notice a huge amount of people from the Toronto market. Also, even from Alberta, the oil sands, Northern Ontario, just a lot of people wanting to come to London, which, obviously with the low inventory started to create things that our market hadn't seen. A lot of multiple offers, stuff that both realtors and our clients had not dealt with in the past.
I think it shook up the London buyers because I think their idea of competing was very modest before, maybe something between 5 and 15,000. But then Toronto people came and they had big money, and everything went for 20 to 100,000 over.
Yeah, like London was always used to maybe a pocket looking at over asking or at asking offer.
Yeah.
Like old south, old north. You kind of knew if you saw something come up there, you might get another buyer that was in it with you. But then it just snowballed to everything. Pretty much whatever you listed seemed to go into a frenzy of somebody wanted it and wanted it badly. So.
And like 15 or 20 offers, not like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So do you think, was this like a build-up that, people saw it coming, or was it just kind of like randomly this happened? Like, what do you think maybe some of these other causes were?
I definitely started to feel it myself. Excuse me. Back towards the end of 2016, I started to notice that on some of the better priced listings that you started to get more inquiries from people from the Toronto market. And I think that what happened is that you had a number of people from those markets buy places and then go home and tell their friends and say, hey, look, I just sold my house in Toronto for $1 million. I came to London and bought a house that was twice the size for $400,000. You got to see this place. And then they tell them, and again, it's the snowball effect. They tell their friend tells friends, and the Toronto market is nuts. They're at historically high prices, and it was just a great, it was the perfect storm for that to happen. So
I think with the interest rates just kept coming down and down and down, and that created, again, like you said, the perfect storm. Low inventory, more buyers coming into our market, low interest rates, and then it just blew up. Many people kept saying in my circle of realtors that the London market has been repressed for too long.
Yeah,
Our prices were just too low, and
That's
it
right.
just finally just turned on and became.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, like it took a little bit of time for it to happen, and almost turned a switch, and here we go.
And even since a year since that's happened, you're still under like the average, right?
Oh, well under.
Yeah, I mean, I think the average price, I want to say it's like 340, 350 range. I haven't really looked at it in the past month a bit, but so then, okay, so big influx from Toronto, Golden Horseshoe area. Were those people also, I guess, moving here, or was it speculation or investment? Like, what did you guys see?
I think you had some of each. I think that I think some people initially, I was very curious myself too. A lot of these people that would inquire, I would ask them, "Are you planning to move? What are you planning to do?" Because it was important for us to know what's going on here. Why is there this shift? And I definitely saw a lot of people wanting to move here. But then I think that as you saw more people move here, that's when you got more speculative buying, and you definitely got a lot of investors too, because I invest. Obviously, I think you guys do invest in real estate ourselves, and I mean, London's a very good market for that. You can still cash flow with 20% down. Where in Toronto, they haven't been able to do that for years. So I mean, from the investment standpoint, I'm surprised it took that long. But you did see a huge influx, and I think it was a bit of each, probably compounding on top of each other.
Yeah, and I think they saw also in our market particularly, we had a very large portion of new builds.
Yep.
And our new build inventory is reasonably priced. You could buy a resale or a new build at relatively the same cost for a very long time. And I think they started catching on to that and realizing that these are phenomenal buys.
Yep.
Not only for their families, but for rental purposes. I know a few neighborhoods where the entire neighborhood almost got sold out strictly as an investment property.
Yeah.
And it's kind of upsetting for some of those that bought into them early on thinking they were family neighborhoods, and they turned into now
All rentals.
all rentals.
Yeah.
So, but like you said, they couldn't cash flow in Toronto or area, and it just made sense to pick up these properties at 1 and 2s and 3s at a time. And again, now that those prices of those properties exceeded the levels of the average London buyer, now they're back focusing on resales in our market.
Yep. So then, what's 2018 looking like, looking at 2017?
I feel like this year's harder than
Yeah.
last year. I feel like it's slower at the beginning. Like last year, I felt March and April, I was just like getting rocked and going, and I had a lot of sales under my belt kind of thing. But I feel like I'm a bit slower, and obviously there's no inventory. They keep saying that.
Inventory's down
over.
30%.
Yeah, it's really low. So you have buyers from last year, and then the buyers that came out this year, and then you have no inventory. So there's lineups at every showing. You don't have a private showing really anymore because people are double booking or overstepping each other kind of thing. And then everything's going for over.
I think we're also more educated this year to know what to deal with.
Yeah.
Last year we were just running off, every direction, just trying to put things together, and now we kind of can stop before we even start showing clients and just giving them a heads up of how this is going to go.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're going to get into multiple offers.
Especially first-time buyers.
Exactly. And same when it comes to listing. Like, you used to want to make sure that you got the house sold before you went shopping. Now it's the opposite. You got to find something.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
not all those sellers are willing to do that because they're worried again of maybe owning 2 houses. If I can't sell this house, which shouldn't happen in this market, but there's still that fear.
So what are the fears that the sellers are having about it? Is it like, what if the house doesn't sell?
Yeah,
if I own, but like, what
no one wants to own
there?
That
It
it's
shouldn't
only
be.
to 2 houses.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
again,
But it's a seller's market. It should
Exactly.
sell. We can't guarantee that. Obviously, we can't say that to them.
No.
But the chance of securing a house is harder.
well, and
You're
the
going to
problem
lose
is,
anywhere between 1 to 10 times.
and most sellers expect that they can put a condition of sale of their home.
Yeah.
If you even got lucky and got that accepted, within a day, it's probably going to get bumped.
Yeah.
So the challenge is now flipping and just educating the clients, I think, more ahead of time, and I think that's changing our market
There's some
this year.
longer closings for that too. I
There
find.
is, yeah,
That security blanket, right?
a little bit,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, I think 2017 obviously helped us be able to prepare for what's going on right now. But, you said it, like the inventory is down 30%. Last year it was low, so 30% lower than last year. It makes it even harder. So I mean, it's really, really,
I know.
really tough for buyers right now. And for listings as well. I mean, for us having listings are down, so it's a tough market. However, once the weather changes, I can feel more inventory coming to the market. So I mean,
You think that'll happen?
I hope so.
I think it's already
we all hope
happening.
so.
Fingers on your
Yeah.
toes?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's already happening because I have a few buyers set up on Prospector, and there used to be like 1 or 2 listings a week that met their criteria. Now they are getting 1 or 2 a day.
Yeah.
So it's already happening, especially not right now. It's awful outside, but we did have that warm weekend, and that even was a little spurt. So
Well, and to your point before, people now need to find something first
Exactly.
before they
So
sell.
it keeps that pent-up supply low
Right.
until you can finally buy something, and then there goes the new listing, perfect, everyone jumps on it, but then it's gone.
Right, but on the flip side, that person now that has bought something, unless they're a first-time buyer, now can sell something. So
Yeah.
hopefully, that inventory will grow as we get a few more listings on the market, that should bring even more listings because, you know, once.
Well, no one wants to
yeah.
sell first because they don't want to be homeless,
That's right.
right?
Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
So the buyers have to find something, but they can't find anything. So it's just this vicious cycle right
Yeah,
now.
and I think last year too, everyone was kind of trying to stick within the city. Now people are spreading their wings a little. They're starting to pick up on the other areas: Thorndale, Kilworth, Kamolka, St. Thomas, Lucan,
Yeah.
Strathroy. Just starting to understand that there are other markets around us,
Yeah.
and the values are good too.
Yeah, and you're seeing some huge increases in the market. I
There
mean,
is.
if you look at St. Thomas, you know, comparison to a year ago,
Oh, yeah,
like
it's
those prices
spreading,
have jumped
for sure.
significantly because buyers were getting frustrated
Yeah.
in London. So they're
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
these smaller markets where they quite hadn't caught up to what had happened in London in 2017.
Well, I just got March's stats yesterday for St. Thomas. 69% of all their listings have gone at or above asking.
Yeah.
So they're seeing it too, which is nice.
Which that's a substantial amount.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's a jarring in the market.
It
That's
is.
at least how I look at it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody know what that percentage maybe used to be, call it like 3-4 years ago when it was a more balanced normal market. Like I really don't
to
know,
find
but
those
That'd be
stats.
interesting because I always sell a few in St. Thomas and I had never seen multiple offers
No.
there before.
Yeah, I would have to guess that it's
I know.
maybe
Like-
even below double digits.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
no,
Like
but it's
five
funny you
comes
say
to
that. Though, like
mind.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, like
In
I doubt it
2017,
10%, like,
maybe 15,
Yeah.
20% at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
You know?
As we got closer, I found with those markets, when we got into May and June of last year, as people just got fed up, losing constantly on houses here, they did get out to St. Thomas, and some of the numbers they were putting up in sales were insane.
Yeah.
Like, the house 3 months ago would have sold for $100,000 less, but
Yeah.
now everyone's spreading over
It's
there
not
pretty
even- Yeah,
quickly.
but you know what? It's not even like London buyers. It's the Toronto buyers
Tri-state,
that come
yeah.
that don't mind the commute.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll live in St. Thomas. It's 20 minutes to get to the
It's
center
off
of
the
the
highway,
city.
big city.
It's off us,
Yeah.
so they put big bucks in
Yeah.
St. Thomas, which London's like, I would never pay that for St. Thomas, but now they're doing it.
I think that's the other thing
Well,
I'm finding.
reinforced.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the London buyers finally losing that stigma
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
certain areas.
Mhm.
You know, we had the EOA stigma, we had the, you know, some areas, the Marconis and stuff like that. But I think people are finally just starting to realize that these are the neighborhoods that their budgets are taking them to.
Yep.
And they're finally starting to put in the values into those houses that some of them need. Ollie's Village. Ollie's Village is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that neighborhood has done phenomenal over the
Yes.
last couple of years.
Yeah, and I mean, thing is that those neighborhoods is the only places a lot of people can go now as first-time buyers or just somebody with a lower budget. So you've got a lot of good people moving into those neighborhoods, and they're investing money into those properties and increasing the value, making it a better place to live, providing opportunities for businesses and whatnot. I mean, I think if you look to over the next little while, the Hamilton Road corridor
Yeah.
It's already
in the
going
east
up,
end,
yeah.
it's gone up significantly, and I think you'll start to see more businesses like you see on Dundas East now and Old East, where you get a lot of young entrepreneurs and whatnot. I think that's going to be another area where that continues to happen because the cost of those commercial properties there are going to be significantly
Yep.
lower than your downtown core or Old
Yeah.
South.
Yeah, that's
or-
true.
Well, you
or
look where your
areas like
office
that.
is and where the new Royal LePage office is, like Horton. Look at the revitalization of
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
nice big companies are coming in, tech companies are coming in, putting beautiful buildings up, and it's just only going to help boost the values of those houses in and around there.
Yeah, it's a cycle of every neighborhood, right?
It
That
is.
rejuvenation stage, because there's a need for it.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, I have first-time home buyers like, I want to live in Northwest London. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna pull up this map for you and show you that there are no houses under 250 in Northwest London, and then you have to educate them and open their mind, hopefully, to bring them to a couple pockets in
Yeah.
East London, which there are so many wonderful places, right?
Yeah, and I think like a lot of the stuff that's been happening in the core over the last 10 years. I mean, you've got the building right beside us,
Yep.
Fanshawe coming in. You've got the possibility of the high-speed rail train. You've got a lot more stuff happening in the core, and people want to be around here. So I mean, whether it's living here or buying places to rent out, there's a big demand for rental places. Lots of condo buildings being built.
Yeah,
you
I think
know.
is it 10?
Applications, yeah, I think so.
Which is like,
That's a lot.
that's
Just
a
like
lot.
Yeah.
Well, when you looked at
That's
London
like-
before, we'd look at condo high-rises as what's the need for? Because
Yeah.
we didn't have one. There wasn't really a necessity to have a high-rise when we had housing and townhouses within the same price point.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
10 applications in right now.
Yeah.
And I've heard that one of the larger developers in the city of high-rise buildings has the intentions of doing 8 downtown.
Wow.
Which is just like mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
And when I talk about that with people, they say, like, to your point where it's like high-rise, we don't need those. I still see that, where people are like, do we need that?
Yeah.
Demographically, it says we do.
Yeah.
I mean, how else is a first-time home buyer going to buy something?
Exactly.
That's how I look
Yep.
at it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we're almost getting to the point where a first-time home buyer is not going to be able to afford a single-family home.
No.
You know, and
Maybe
I
a
actually,
townhouse now.
yeah, I know. I
No.
actually said that to a number of clients
Shocking
last year. I
how
said,
high
I
they
bet you
are.
within a year, you know, the townhouses are going to go up significantly because that's all people are going to be able to afford.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah,
Like your standard townhouse that has no garage, like it really used to go between like 100 and 150 or 60 maybe.
Yeah.
Now they're 150 to 250.
Yeah.
Like they're somewhere in there all over the town, and it's just like that first-time buyer is just getting bumped and bumped, right?
Yeah. And the nice thing about some of those townhouses too is that, you know, you would be able to buy some of those inexpensive places in neighborhoods that have
Good neighborhoods,
very
yeah.
expensive houses, like in Byron, you know.
Yeah.
you
That was
could
the
get
point
some-
of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, you could get into these neighborhoods and in the north end, you know, but now they're catching up, you know. Kind of always thought they would, but
No, remember the townhouses on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Street, or just around the college, like a year and a half ago, you couldn't give them away, nobody wanted them, and now multiple offers and they're selling so fast, right?
yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, they were, you know, I look back on it and I remember telling some clients like, you know, these are a steal over here.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
cheap, you know, but
Good investment, but when you sell it, you're going to sell it for the same price. No, you're not anymore.
yeah.
So let me throw this out. We've talked about a whole ton of different things. I want from each of you 2 areas of the city or outer area of the city. I guess L-Star jurisdiction. Let's just, whatever we're
Okay.
talking is L-Star. 2 spots, could be a neighborhood, could be a hamlet, small town, whatever it is. Bang for your buck value there.
I think right now anything East London is still a good bang for your
Yeah.
buck. Like it's the area that some of those houses had not increased in value, like you're saying around Fanshawe, for years, and they just weren't seeing the increases that Byron and Oak Ridge and Westmount and Lambeth and other pockets that people were in demand for were seeing the boosts. They weren't, and now they're finally getting what they're after,
Yeah.
and I think there's still a bargain for what
Yeah.
you're getting. You still can buy a 4-bedroom, 2-story double car garage house for under $400,000.
Yeah.
Where else?
Okay, so that's one area. What's your second?
I think we're going to see the boost of the neighboring towns,
Yeah.
right? For a while there, Kilworth, I do a lot in Kilworth, Kamoka, you would get a listing, some would sell, some wouldn't. People just thought it was too far. But now that you look at the distance of where it is from London's growth boundary to where Kilworth and Kamoka are now, it's minutes.
Yeah.
The growth from London's west has pushed themselves so far towards those neighborhoods that now it doesn't look as like you're going out of town. You're in town still.
Mm-hmm.
In a 5-minute drive. And I think those are going to be the next pockets that are going to continue to just boom.
Yeah. Chris?
I like, there's an area just to the west of Old South. Let me see.
Coves.
The Coves.
The coves. The
The
coves I
is a
do
good
like
one.
as well.
The Coves is a good
like
one.
That wasn't what I was
South,
gonna say. No,
Okay.
sorry. On the opposite side. Sorry, on the east side, not the west side.
Soho?
Roundtree
Yeah,
Park
Yeah,
sort of
we're-
area.
Is that
no,
Soho?
exactly. Where
You know-
Bond Street.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 I mean, I like that where the Spikes is and stuff.
Yeah.
I really like that area because there's a lot of smaller homes there. You know, wartime sort of era homes. But not only for living, for living, you great location. You're close to downtown. You've got all sorts of things close by, quick access to the 401. But even in terms of rentals, like you got the hospital right there. You know,
Yes.
fix that up, rent it to a resident doctor or a nurse. You know. They don't have to pay for parking. They can walk there. I think that's a really great area. I think a lot of these areas have already seen quite an increase in value. Second area, I know it's still bordering on some of the stuff that you said, but the Hamilton Road area, you can still get some really good bang for your buck in that area.
Anita.
Yeah, I would agree with, I think it's called Soho, south of Morton. Isn't that where it is?
I was talking about on the other
On
side
the
of the
other
river,
side, okay.
but yes, that's
But the
another
Coves for sure. So I think my 2 areas would be, so obviously the Tweedsmuir Fairmont area.
Great area. Great neighborhood.
Because it's so good. It's
Yeah.
like a little gem in like East London. Huge lots, nice.
Yep.
I've always looked at it as like
branches.
the Byron of the East because it really is.
It
Yeah,
is
that's actually
so
that's a
nice.
great description.
So that area, but all the way around, like you're saying, Hampton. So if you went on the other side of Highbury and you were on like Hume Street or something, like Hume is one of my favorite streets to sell over there. It's cute little houses and great value. So all the way around the Tweedsmuir. And then my second area would probably be maybe Westminster. So
Okay.
that's between White Oaks and Pond Mills, and it kind of
Yep.
gets overlooked a lot.
Yep.
But it's an area that I grew up in, and I know that it's got trails everywhere. You've got the forest right
Yep.
there. It's got a bunch of schools, a bunch of parks. The trees are getting bigger there. I feel like that's definitely an undervalued
Trying to make your
place.
mom's house increase in value.
Yeah.
She's not there anymore. She's in Lambeth. But
Another
no.
great
Well, there, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. What do I think?
Where are you thinking?
Mm.
Ah.
I think Cobbs though. Whoever said that
Great
was a
area.
good one.
I'm just trying to think. Okay.
He's like, "Where's my next list?"
No. No, I like looking a little further out, like 5-10 years.
Yeah.
I believe everything on the outer rim, and the reason I say that is kind of going back to a bit of what we've talked about. London used to be sleepy. Like, this is a very weird market for a Londoner. Like, they are just floored by it. They
Yeah.
don't understand it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then we as agents, we're like, no, this has been going on in Toronto for a decade. Like,
Yeah.
this is not that crazy, even though it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy.
In comparison, yeah.
So as Londoners, we're used to more space.
Yeah.
And like, Devin, I know you do a lot of new builds. I don't know how much new builds you guys dip your toes in, but
Not too many.
but lots in the city are getting smaller and smaller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like flashing lights for 42-foot lot, and you're just like, really? Like, that's like,
I know.
sure, it's 42 feet wide, but it's not like really
Like,
like.
look at
this
the
is
days of what we grew up in our family homes.
Yeah.
We're all 50, 60,
Yeah.
70
Yeah.
footers. We just thought that was a normal
Yeah.
thing, and then they just get smaller and smaller and
And-
smaller.
And I just see them getting tight. That I think eventually, and Londoners, not outside of London people, but I think Londoners eventually are going to start flocking more to the outer
Yes.
areas.
Yeah.
Why I think it's going to take 5 to 10 years is, again, another weird thing about Londoners is this perception of like outer hamlet towns are too
Yep.
far.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I live in
Yeah.
Thorndale. It's
Yeah.
15 minutes for me to be parked at Masonville Mall.
Yeah.
Before that, I lived in Oak Ridge, and it was a half an hour.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm like, but at least I'm driving the whole time. Like, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Distance, it's further, but it's like it's time traveled. Like, you can actually get around on these outer areas. And,
Exactly.
I mean, if the city ever does a ring road, which I don't think that'll ever happen, but that might boost it. But I do believe in the long term, like, not Kilworth. I think Kamoka, Mount Bridges,
Yep.
Thorndale, Lucan, even Exeter.
Look at
like
Mount
that
Bridges this
area,
past
like,
year. Mount
Yeah.
Bridges,
Bridges
Yeah.
is already blown up,
it's
right?
gone.
And I
They
think it's
had
gonna
those
keep
build
going.
sites
But
sitting
people
there.
are going past that now.
They're
like,
gonna go further.
Glencoe.
Yeah, I've done Watford
Yeah.
this year. I've done Glencoe. I've done Dutton.
Yeah.
And it's just you get space,
Yeah.
and that's what the buyers were looking for.
I think, and I think that's going to get more intense
I
down the
agree.
road.
And I think that's why, like, Oak Ridge that has the ranch and those huge
Yep.
lots, and Tweedsmuir that has the ranch with huge lots.
Mhm.
That's why those are still a hot commodity. Because
Yep.
people are like in the city with very big lots.
Yeah.
But those well, I remember when I left Oak Ridge, when I sold my
I
house.
remember that.
I got phone calls from people, and they're like, "You're insane! You sold it for what?"
I
And
know.
I'm like, "Yeah, like that was good." And they're like, "No, like you set a record." And I'm like, "That's cool, but
That's
yeah,
a
like we
bargain.
fully gutted the house,
Yeah.
right?" But like now looking at it,
Gave
it's
it away.
like that was a steal.
Yeah.
We gave it away, but also like time and like like
Yeah,
our
that you
home
bought
that
that
we moved
year.
to was
Yeah.
worth
And
a
I've
bit
been saying for
different
years that I
now.
think that's what's going to happen is the Oak Ridge, the Byron, the Tweedsmuir, all those little bungalows, the little small 1,000 square foot homes on massive lots are going to be bought and torn down.
Here's a couple things. I feel like there's certain things within those types of neighborhoods that have disappeared. Like, I don't think very many people in Oak Ridge are selling a renovated home anymore. Like, I haven't seen that in a while. At least
No,
I feel I
it's
haven't.
low.
Because you can sell the original and get pretty high.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and we're talking about like
Byron
infill
too.
style
Yeah.
development. So, and I know we've seen a bit in Oak Ridge, bit in, like in some of these larger lots. When does it really become, do you think, a lot more normal to go and buy a $350,000 typical Oak Ridge Byron Ranch and literally wrecking ball through it? When does that become like a lot more
I think
normal?
we're seeing it getting to more normal now.
Right now?
Well, it's the difference between what that's going to cost and building the same house.
Yep.
The spread is so far apart, unfortunately, in some of these communities that the new builds are going up in, that it only just makes sense to buy one of these and do a big demo on it.
Yeah, well, and the other problem is where can you get a lot that's
That's right.
that size? Most
Well, yeah.
developers won't want to sell it to you because they can build 2.
Yeah.
In a
Right?
mature neighborhood too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, yeah,
exactly.
That's
But-
right. Because
and
even
I
if
guess-
they do, you're still surrounded by
Yeah, like,
15 other
but
people.
you talk 70, 80-foot lot in the city, it's $1 million plus all day long.
Well,
Like
yep.
in the blink of an eye, and that's
Yep.
that's too low. It's probably really like $1.5 million now
For that
right?
size. Yeah.
So I guess if you are buying an old home, 60, 70, 80 feet of frontage, even if it is 350,
So I mean, the lots
I
on
guess
put 800
it'll be
into
like
the home,
baby
it sounds
steps. Maybe
crazy.
you just do.
Or
Maybe
you
people are just
addition
going to
or-
do additions
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
and then maybe we'll see more tear downs.
I think
Yeah.
we'll start to see more too once you get a few people doing it, and there has been a few.
Yeah.
But once
But
you
not
see
like a
more,
ton.
no.
Like-
And the other thing that we haven't seen is people build those and then sell them.
Mhm.
That's right.
Right. So I think that's going to be the
Yeah.
key because once people see what they've been actually able to sell for, because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, this nut job put up this massive house next to my little bungalow. How much is he going to actually get for it?
Yeah.
When they see it sell, then you'll start to see
We
other
saw that in
people
Toronto
doing
for
that.
years.
Yeah, Toronto, that's normal to.
But it was
yeah.
weird for some people at the very
Yep.
beginning. With, like you said, like this massive tower is now beside this tiny little bungalow.
Yeah.
But
And do
So
you
we
want to
talking
be a
5
big
years
fish
out?
in a small pond? No. You wanna
nobody wants
get
to be
the
the
other
guinea.
way.
Nobody wants to be the guinea
Right.
pig.
No, yeah, nobody does. No
I-
one wants to be the first one.
I think 5 years is
Yeah.
realistic. I think
Yeah.
we'll slowly start to see it. I think you'll see one here and there, but I don't think it's going to be in any sort of massive scale in the next 5 years. Maybe,
Cool.
I don't know.
So we've talked new builds a bit. I can go to Devin on this because he deals with a lot of it, and we chat a lot about new builds.
Yeah.
What insanity have you seen in new construction over the past 12 to 18 months?
Well, it's just pricing. Like that's, I think that's simple. It's the price that has gone from numbers that were affordable for the average buyer to not so much. You're now, whether you're looking for here's a brand new built starter home, most buyers aren't unfortunately in that marketplace.
So where did you see prices jump in with your builder?
Well, we've got 2 different segments. We've got the smaller, more affordable bungalow products that
Yep.
are, I think, within the realm of people's affordability, 300 to 400, and we have a lineup of them.
Yep.
We've got a wait list of more people for 72 homes than we can actually build.
Yep.
So we think there's viability, obviously, in that marketplace of that product. When you start getting into that 7 and upper price point, we're seeing a huge limit on who can actually afford it. And I think it just comes down to, again, like we said, the average London buyer hasn't had wrapped their head around that that's what the cost is going to be now. So they're still trying to find other options out there, especially in the resales.
Yeah. Where are those new build costs going to be next year? Do you think they're going to go up even more?
Yeah, I think the cost of construction has obviously gone up over the last couple of years because as we see the shortage in houses, the trades are obviously seeing the demand and what's the building going on, and they're charging different numbers than they ever were before, and the cost is obviously coming back on the buyer.
Yep.
So the costs have to go back up. The land cost has gone up significantly from developer to builder, so hasn't seemed to change over the last couple of years. It just keeps going up, and there's just, I think the problem is going to be finding that little pocket that's affordable, and right now it's looking like outside the city.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Anita, Kris?
I was just thinking, you made a good point that at like 700,000,
Yeah.
if there's not that many buyers where there is underneath.
No.
Like, where do you guys, and it's a little bit off topic, but like in the multiple offer situation that we're feeling, like,
Yeah.
where does the price stop? Where do you find that after a certain price, there's not really multiples?
Yeah, I think we're hitting that ceiling, like in that 7,
You think
in
it's 6
range,
or 7?
6 to
Like,
7
yeah.
range. I think
Yeah.
is probably a fair number.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that people can't afford it. It's that we're not used to those numbers in London.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
I definitely feel I'd say even the 500 and below
Yeah.
is where you're seeing the most
Yeah.
activity. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
it makes sense.
the
too,
average
because
double
that's-
income family
I find
can
that,
make
like-
that work.
Yes.
4 to 500, there's not that much out there though.
There just isn't.
No.
Like that's a weird bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There just isn't. Well,
Yeah,
you
it's
look
more
like
400 and below.
years ago, if you sold a $800,000, $900,000 house in London, that was a big sale.
Oh yeah, it was like
Oh, yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
like do you see that one go? And
Yeah.
like now it's like there's another $1 million one, there's another $1 million, and you're just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well,
I feel
whatever.
like $500,000 is nothing now.
Yeah, it's nothing.
No.
Yeah.
So it's just everyone's had to kind of play catch up. And I think with the new construction, we've all, builders aside, like everyone's just trying to figure out their numbers. I know a lot of builders don't want to even put long closing dates on stuff because they don't know what the actual cost of construction will be in 8 to 12 months.
Right.
We've done that.
And it's
There's
very
certain
hard.
ones where you're like, you can't.
Exactly, but people, obviously we're getting the demand of people that want to buy, but we're not looking to build some of these products for 2 years out. We don't know what the actual cost could be. So if you got to be really careful with numbering right now for when it comes to new construction.
But it goes to show that people are waiting. They're okay
They're willing to
to
wait.
wait instead
Yeah.
of compete.
Yeah.
Right?
And yeah, like myself personally, a lot of my clients have started to see our projects that we're doing, and at least they know that they can buy a new house without competing with somebody else
Yeah.
and finish it the way they want, but paying a premium. But at least they know at the end of the day, they're not losing out on all these other options,
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be brand new.
and they're getting brand new. I'm assuming Thorndale's no different where you guys
Yeah.
are.
And we just saw huge increases, like you said, like
Yeah.
lot prices have really gone up.
Yeah.
But then when you compare it, and everybody goes to the whole GTA Toronto area and they say, well, look at what things cost there.
Yeah.
50-foot lot in Milton, I've been told, is like $800,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like that's like, how does that even make any sense? And I don't even know who's buying that. It doesn't matter to me because it's not in my world. But our builders now, I mean, like we do look at things and we say, okay, and we have had pushback from the consumer on increases because the consumer unfortunately is looking at it in a lot of cases and they're just saying, oh, these builders are seeing all this activity and they're price gouging. And in reality, what they don't realize, and I was talking about this over the weekend with my brother-in-law, because I was down at Home Depot buying a couple 2x4s. A 2x4 is $3.50. I remember when it was $2.20. And it's this whole like this just inflation on product and labor,
Yeah.
human power
Yeah.
is gone up so much.
Yeah.
It just gets passed on. I mean, no one's gonna build a home and take a loss. It doesn't make
No.
any sense, right?
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of builders are scared too to look at house plans that they've never built
Yes.
because they can't cost it.
No.
They really are trying to stick with stuff they've already done.
Yeah.
So the custom builder, I think you're obviously paying a huge premium now to get someone to build you that custom home, where before almost all builders are willing to say, yeah, I'll build you a custom design.
Or one of our builders, we do like to do a lot of custom, and to get a quote back,
Mhm.
2 to 4 weeks,
Yeah.
because they have to go to every trade
Yeah.
and make sure where everybody sits, and then they go back to them again.
Yeah.
Because they don't, like, it's almost like trust has been lost. And they'll even go to suppliers, like, okay, hey, we're looking at doing this, like, where's product? And do I get that pricing for the next 30 days? I mean, we've had people, like, one of our builders was just notified, like, hey, by the way, drywall went up 12%. Oh, great, so, like, when does that take effect? Today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we got a couple builds, well, price goes up 12%. Sorry, guys, it is what it is. And they're just like, huh? Nobody gets secured pricing anymore. Bonkers. Escalation clauses. Yes, no, maybe. What's your opinion?
I
Straight down
don't,
there.
I don't use them. I've seen them come in on my offers. Cool concept.
Don't like it though, or
I'll reserve my judgment.
okay, well, that'd be a no.
I'm a maybe. I haven't used them myself. I have received them on my offers. I would hate to have to explain to a buyer why they lost
Mhm.
because of one.
Yep.
So
That's a good point.
I hope they don't. I know you have a different
Yeah, I
opinion,
mean,
but
yeah.
I hope they don't become very normal. in
Time
our
and place
market.
though, like it's
Yeah.
not for everybody.
Yeah,
That like
but
it's not.
I also think that it's like multiple offers. A couple years ago, we just didn't see it or have to deal with it. So it's not
Yeah.
something we have to deal with. We're all scared of change, So maybe it's just because it's not widely used in this market.
Anita?
I'm not a huge fan, but I guess it could benefit a buyer, but it could also hinder them if the seller thinks if they're not a fan of them.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like as we move here, the concept gets lukewarm. Like Devin's just straight up no, and like as we travel, it's a little more, accepted.
I'm a no, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
No, I think you guys will warm. I honestly think that by the summertime, you will see them a lot more.
Just
Out of
offer
frustration,
on
'cause
all
it's
of
an
my
option.
listings and Kris and Anita's listings and bring them in and
Yeah.
see what happens.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I still just think that the best offer should win.
Yeah.
But
Off the hop.
But
Off the hop without any side bets.
so like no sign backs, just the highest price, no conditions kind of thing. Like that's okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. Which,
Whatever it means to the sellers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sucks sometimes though when you lose over $100.
Which
That
has
a
happened.
call would have been nice.
A call
Okay,
would have been
yeah.
nice. But
You want to know a
but
funny story?
Some agents go, it's the best offer once.
This is the best story. I won an offer once off of $1.
Yeah.
Okay, it was I'm not kidding you, triplex on Queen Street. I was on vacation with my wife, standing in line to go up the Eiffel Tower. Not kidding, right? On the phone
That was
talking.
my offer.
No, it wasn't actually, because I know who was on the other side of it. And so I had an agent obviously here type it up and submit it for me. I get a call from the listing agent. He's like, "This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You're like," and I know the agent pretty well. He's like, "You're not gonna believe this." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You won over $1." And he's like, "But $1's $1." I'm like, "Time out. Like, what do you mean?" He's like, "Literally, that was the difference. $1." I'm like,
So what were you,
firm,
400,
same day,
1,000?
we added $1 to it. I was like firm, same date, like everything. He's like, every single thing identical except for your price. It was $1 more.
It's like the price is right.
Yep.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my
I
best
did
story.
$1.
My other best story is actually also selling a piece of real estate and getting a car out of it.
You did.
That was
You
that
got the
I
car?
did. I did. I got a BMW 525 out of the deal.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a sweetener. That's what it was said to me. I was like, okay, whatever. Anyways, let's move on. What would you guys say over the past 12 months, 16 months, and let's just say, I guess from January 1, 2017 to now, what has been your biggest shocker about this market?
For me, I think
Go.
just price.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
where they've gone or where people are taking them to, like.
Both. I mean, like where you think like you've put something in, whatever, 40, 50 grand over and something needs London, you think, this is the one. And then someone goes way and blows you out of the water. Like,
Yeah.
What's been your biggest like spread that you've seen or been involved in? Like you've maybe gone 50 and somebody went 80 and you're just like,
there was
"That
one,
makes
like
sense."
recently, I was just telling them, there was one in East London, we went like 285 and I think it went for 315. It just like blew my mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was the original list price on that?
259.
So 259.
And nothing in that neighborhood had sold over 275.
So
Well,
you
some-
had
those are
already gone
sometimes-
10 over, and
Yeah.
then that other person went 30 over.
Yes.
You're 10 over.
And there's that big spread between the buyers. Sometimes it's easier for your buyer to stomach.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was like, you didn't win, but you
Look
didn't
at what you
overpay.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's yeah. That I think that's just the biggest shock. I think it's going to be the biggest shock for all of us. Like just the numbers that
Is
things
it?
are, that and just at the just learning so quickly as to a new market for London.
Yeah, I mean, price definitely. The fact that there's still a lot of people coming from outside of our market, you know.
What percentage? Let me ask that, because that's one thing we haven't asked. What percentage of the market do you think is coming from outside of London? Not necessarily Toronto, but like could be, you know, through immigration, refugees, you know, whole GTA thing, whatever. Just
Before we answer
non-Londoners.
that, do you actually have the answer?
I do not.
Oh.
I have an idea.
Because I would
of what
like to
think.
know what
I would
that
like to
is.
know what last spring compared to this spring is as far as people coming from out of town. Because I
Yeah,
feel like last
who
spring was a
cares?
lot.
I think
This
last
spring
spring
was
was
last
still
spring was
quite a bit.
more.
yeah.
Yes.
Last spring was significantly more.
I
When
would.
it got warm a couple weeks back, we saw a big blip
Yeah.
in Toronto GTA area buyers flocking in when the nice weather hit.
Yeah.
This slows it down, but I have a feeling the second that we, you know, like Wednesdays, you know, 15 degrees, and that's going to carry throughout the whole weekend, I think that's going to trigger it again.
Does somebody actually track that information?
It's a data gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
It's like the whole foreign buyer bit.
Well, yeah.
How
That's
did you
why,
know unless
that's
you
why
tax
they
them?
didn't. They didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
that in
true.
Vancouver,
No, I
right?
had no
Yeah,
idea.
they had absolutely.
What's your biggest surprise?
I would say my biggest surprise is how much time it's taking for Londoners to realize the value that existed here,
Mm-hmm.
which ties into like pricing, but the fact that in a lot of cases, like some people literally need a month or 2 months or a year to just try and comprehend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and short of just being in their house and saying, okay, so we're in your home and it's 400,000. Now imagine if this was $1.2 million.
Yeah.
And then put yourself in that situation, reverse it. You're in Oakville, you just sold your, you know, traditional Byron Oak Ridge 3-bedroom ranch for $1.3 million. And then you come here and you buy one for $350,000, $400,000. or you go buy something brand new for 4 or 5, you're winning the lottery.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, and it's just like, but it's like people don't want to believe it. I think a lot of people, they don't want to talk about it. They just tell stories in their heads.
Even
It's like-
after losing a few
Yeah.
times, they still don't believe it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, it's been an adjustment period for some of the realtors too, right? I mean, you're seeing neighborhoods where I can tell you, there's nothing in this neighborhood that's sold at X amount of dollars, and then it goes significantly beyond that, right?
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of history for everyone to sort of get used to it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It has taken some people a lot longer than others.
So what percentage of buyers do you think are out of town?
I don't even know if I can speculate on it.
Like what is your gut? Just trust your gut. What is your gut?
Yeah.
Like, what's the first number in your head?
10%,
Really?
I
maybe.
was gonna say 30.
30 was my guess.
I'm saying 30.
Yeah.
And the reason is you look at the I look at the average number of sales, peel that back like 4 years ago, and you're like rough, just I think around 8,000, and we're hitting around like 11,000 ends.
I think we're seeing a lot come to shop. Not necessarily everyone got one or
You think
bought a
they're
house.
just dipping their toe and getting an idea?
I think some have, yeah.
Yeah.
Because as they're competing, we're also competing. So
Yeah.
I know, not all my buyers have got a house, but a good majority of them
Yep.
were able to land something last year.
Yep.
And same thing this year, and we have been going up and against them as well. I think the challenge for them coming out of town, they don't have access to our data.
No.
So they're coming in completely blind, especially if they're coming with an agent from out of town.
So then, best advice for a person coming from out of town is
Get a
what?
local agent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
get a London agent. Get a referral from your agent from another town and get somebody
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what houses sold. I've been called and emailed by agents from out of town on my listings asking me to send them the data of
Yeah.
what houses have sold in that neighborhood.
Just refer it to a
Just
local
refer it,
agent.
Yeah. I don't even know why you'd want to drive down here.
No.
They're not driving.
Yeah, in a lot of cases they don't, or like
They're
or
not.
all of a sudden the agent just appears out of nowhere when it's time for, and you're like,
Yeah.
what's going
You
on?
show
here?
them the
Like,
listing where they
Yeah.
came to your open house,
Yeah.
but then they show up with a
No.
offer.
But it's just a huge disservice. And I think some of the crazy numbers that did go over asking were because of them not knowing true value
Yeah.
of what the houses are worth.
I can see that.
If
Well,
they,
the
if-
value in their eyes, though.
It's,
they thought
it's
it-
just like what Matt was saying. Like if it's typically $1.2 million and now we're selling for 400, well, what's an extra 100,000 over that because it's still a massive
It's-
bargain.
Yeah.
So I think some of that has created a little bit of our number issue in London.
So to close it out, we got one more question, and that is, what advice do you have for agents in this market?
I'd say make sure that you are professional. Respect your other realtors and make sure that you really, really understand what's going on in the market. Things change very drastically, and you need to be on top of it. And if not, you're doing your buyers and your sellers an injustice. But again, treat your fellow realtors very well because professionalism flies out the window pretty quickly, unfortunately, and we need to keep our wits about us in this market.
Anita?
I would say, like, from a buyer's agent's perspective, is for listing agents just to put as much information on their listing as possible, or at least answer the touch bases, because we just want the information, our buyers just want the information. You are the listing agent that should have that information, and
Well,
you
we owe it
give
to
it out.
fellow agents and buyers
And
and sellers.
Yeah,
now.
and even on Geo Warehouse, you can buy like an $8 report that has the square footage, the age, and whatever else. Like, if you're the listing agent, splurge on the $8, find out the square footage, and then you won't have to answer so many touch bases.
Yeah, I mean, that really should be mandatory.
I
You know, it's
know.
unfortunate it's not. It hurts us from
In this
a
new
comparative
system, there's a
market.
spot. Let's use it.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
I think there's just less due diligence being done on the listing agent side than it used to. Because before it would take work to sell a house.
Yep.
Now houses are selling relatively easily because you're having the demand, and I find that the listing agents sometimes just aren't doing their homework.
minimal information given. Yeah, they're
They're,
just like,
and they seem to be like holding back on it. And unfortunately, with the way the market's going, is people are going in without conditions.
Yeah.
Get as much info as you can possibly get. Get it to the agents. Throw it up on a Word doc. Let people know everything about that house that they possibly can find out from that seller.
yeah.
Mm.
And I think it'll just make everybody's job a little easier and less surprises and maybe less buyer's remorse.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up episode 1 of the Real Estate Roundtable with a not roundtable. Devin, Kris, Anita, thank you very much for being the first guests on this. Everybody out there, you know, make sure you follow along. We're gonna, I don't know how many episodes this is gonna last, but we're gonna do this, try and, you know, probably at least do 6 or 8 this year. I think it'll be kind of fun to get perspective. But the more important part is, what we're hoping to accomplish here is to actually educate the market and bring as much knowledge, you know, to the consumer, so we're not relying on just we see in the newspaper, because I'll tell you that, like, mass media drives me absolutely bonkers. So again, Matt Santagapita, Santa Knows Best, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Thanks, guys, for coming this
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you.
For having us.